So this is I'm going to do a series of just some of the few travel stories. I just came back from an amazing trip to Tribe. I just came back from Nepal and Bhutan. Ooh, look it up if y'all don't know where it is. It's right along the edge of the Himalayas. Nepal and Bhutan are neighbors on one side of the Himalayas, and Tibet is on the other side of the Himalayas. And these are those closed, well, not Tibet and Nepal, but Bhutan in particular is one of these just closed off countries. So I was going to give you a little stories about what I kind of got into, and then I'm going to add some photos and stuff in there so you can really understand what I went and what I did. So first, let me tell you guys about Nepal. Do you remember that? Okay, I'm going to age myself totally, but every time I think about Nepal and I think about the capital, Kathmandu, I think about Eddie Murphy and the movie The Golden Child. Do y'all remember that? When he met like this mysterious lady and she needed him to help her find the golden child. And then they went to Kathmandu and it was just like all this chaos. So that's where we went. So we started our trip out with few days on the front end in Nepal. And so I went with my mom and two of my uncles. And then we did 10 days in between when we went to Bhutan. And then for Bhutan, we came back. My mom and I came back, but we went all the way to Western Nepal to go and do tiger trekking and in the area where the Buddha was born. So all of you guys who are into different world religions or can appreciate other world religions, this was a very Buddhist place, and fantastic. I will be honest with you, every Buddhist country I've ever generally been to, it just feels different. It feels different than being in Muslim countries. It feels different than being in Christian countries. It feels different than being in Hindu Jain communities. I have not been to Israel, so I don't know what it would be like to be in a fully Jewish country, but I am from Miami. Shout out to the MIA 305 Dade County, and you guys know we've got many Jews, and so I have a lot of neighbors who are Jewish. I don't think that counts, but actually maybe it does kind of semi-count because at least there's an exposure, but it's definitely nothing like Buddhist countries. So we landed in Nepal, and Nepal for me was, I really wanted to do some bucket list ish, you know what I'm saying? And so my biggie, obviously everybody who goes to Nepal are generally, right, like trekkers or meditation yogi folks, right? My goal was to see Mount Everest. Yo, it was amazing. So I cheated, okay? I am no trekker, I am no hiker. If the day calls for me to have to do so, i.e. I have done many treks or have schlepped up many mountains, more so to be able to see something opposed to being out there for the love of it, right? So I live here in Kenya, as you guys know. I don't have any desire to walk up Mount Kenya or Mount Meru or Kilimanjaro. That is not for me. However, I did schlep up the volcanoes in Rwanda to see the gorillas, because that to me was well worth it. So I can rise to the occasion, good people. But if there's a way that we could get around it, I'm gonna get around it, aka helicopter trip to Mount Everest. So that's what I did. So anyways, the best times of year generally to travel in these parts of the world, it's right about now, right? End of March, April, May. And then back again at the end of the year in fall area, so like September, October, and pretty much the rest of the year, it's not very tourist friendly if you're trying to get in and get out, right? Like there's definitely those folks where they love schlepping up these mountains in the snow because it's fun. Look, tomato, you like it, I love it, fine. But I'm not gonna be doing any of that. Y'all already know. So I organized a helicopter tour up to Mount Everest. And when I tell y'all this thing was fire, it was fire. First and foremost, we lucked out with that weather, all right? So unbeknownst to me, but obviously once we got there and now being in that area and being in the topography, you really do start to realize how fast and swiftly their weather moves, okay? So if you are in temperate climates where you don't really have all of that fluctuation, it don't mean nothing to you, right? So for instance, here in Nairobi, we are always on a 12 clock. It don't matter what time of year it is, we are always on a 12 clock. You pretty much know what the temperature is gonna be, aka perfection. Nairobi has best weather. But over in these parts, like I said, sometimes the clouds will pop up out of nowhere and then you're just going to be grounded, which did happen to us on this trip. So basically, we organized this tour to take a private helicopter tour up to Mount Everest. So the guys picked us up from our hotel in Kathmandu. We were staying at the Dwarkis Hotel. If you guys are ever going to be going out there and y'all want to spend some cash and really stay at a beautiful, they call them cultural heritage hotels, this Dwarkis in Kathmandu is fire, just fire. They have restored it. They have utilized the old traditional way of creating homes and really adding really beautiful textures to the wall. And it's just a feast for the eyes, if you will. It really is. And for the senses, it's just so peaceful. And it was a perfect landing spot for when we first all got there, just to get used to the altitude. I'm coming from a high altitude, so I was pretty all right. But my mom and my uncles all come from sea level. So it was a nice stop to be able to kind of get in, adjust yourself, and get your mind ready for like a good long vacation. And like a good long vacation lets you forget the days of the week, right? When you wake up and it's like, what is today? Thursday, Friday? It's like, nah, fam, it's Tuesday. And it's like, good vacation, right? Good vacation is one of those vacations where you've got a couple of days to ease yourself into it, and then you got a big chunk of time where you're in it, right? You're not worried about anything else. You're living out of your little bags. You're schlepping up mountains. You're looking at stuff. You're a tourist. You're a sightseer. You're a traveler. All those fun, exciting things. And then you got a couple of days at the end of the trip where I feel like for me at the end of the trip, if I got a feeling like, all right, I'm ready to roll, I want to go home, to me, that's a really good holiday, because that means that I came to do what I came to do, if that makes sense. I think it does. So anyways, we landed out there, got to the hotel the first night, just kind of chilled out, relaxed, and just enjoyed the hotel, just enjoyed the service. The service was increíble, okay? Fantastic. So the next morning, our guy comes by, picks us up early, like around 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m., picks us up, and we go to the domestic airport in Kathmandu. And then from there, you go to their office and they got to weigh you, all right? And they're weighing you because they've got to distribute the weight in the helicopters, especially once you get higher and higher in altitude. All of this I learned, but the higher and higher in altitude you go, in particular for helicopter pilots, the harder and harder it is to maneuver your helicopter, because there is less oxygen up there, which affects how much power that is required for the helicopter to go up. And how much power is required is also going to be determined by how much weight is inside the helicopter. So you go inside of here and they're going to weigh everybody. And guess what? It is what it is. Come on, fatty. We going up to the top. All right. So they weigh you, and then you go in the little waiting room, and you're waiting in the domestic airport part, and then they load you up. It's so exciting. So you go outside to where all the helicopters are, and they've got these little tiny helicopters, right? It's not like what you see, those movies like Black Hawk Down, like those big mammoth ones where, they've got all the seats lined up on the side and there's space in between. Nah, man, it's literally feels like you're in a little tiny bubble with propellers on the top and your little tail in the back. But it was amazing. So we all got into the helicopter. And then we flew from Kathmandu airport to the airport that services the base camp area. And that ride was about 45 minutes or so to an hour, which was fire, because I have never been in a helicopter for that long. I think the last time I went on a helicopter was 85 in Miami for 10 minutes. Which I still remember because it was so exciting. But this was oh, no. You are about to be doing a whole day of just something that, a lot of people just don't get to do, right? Even people, the numbers of people who are coming to Mount Everest, when you're looking at, for instance, comparing it to people who are going to Paris to see the Eiffel Tower, right? The numbers are just, they don't match. So anyways, we get to the base airport, and then right when we got there, our captain, he was a bit surly, you know what I mean? He ain't really talk. He just had a bit of an attitude. He's a little bit grumpy. I don't even know. But kudos to that man for getting us up and down real safe and not feeling any kind of altitude sickness or anything like that. So I will deal with your little attitude. It's fine. So anyways, we got to the second airport at the base camp. And then the captain, I guess he looked around. We were supposed to disembark. And then I guess he did whatever mental calculations they be doing. And he was like, nope, stay in there, let's go. So we just like take off. It was so exciting. So now you've got to imagine, like, now you are up high, y'all, okay? And while you're up there, it's just mountains, right? It's just mountains, and now you've just hit all of the snow parts, right? So because we were in there in the spring, the bottom halves of the mountains were obviously like no snow, the flowers were starting to come out, so it was really pretty. But as you go higher and higher, it just gets more and more steep, it becomes more cold, and it's just snow and ice on the top. And we went to this, like I said, so we were at the airport at the base camp, and there are no cars up there, there's no bicycles up there, there's no motorized anything. And these little villages that are dotted throughout these magnificent Himalayan mountains are just like these tiny little villages. And if you look from, from the helicopter, you'll see the little roads that they use going back and forth throughout the mountains, and you'll see people walking up and down. And it's just amazing, because it's just so unlike the life I live, right? And it's interesting sometimes when you think about like lives and how do people get into them, but it's like, it's kind of like you don't really have a choice per se of where you were born and where you are, right? Like, for instance, for us, we were taking high altitude pills just in case, but imagine these kids who are born in these villages up in these Himalayan mountains, they don't even ever feel anything because they're just so used to it, right? Anyways, I just thought it was really cool. So we took off. So we went up so now we got onto the helicopter, and now we're going higher and higher up into the mountain. The weather was fantastic. It was clear. It was not windy. We actually had perfect weather. Even when we landed on the way back, our guide was like, but wasn't it windy? Wasn't it this? And it's like, nope, it was flat, bright, clear sun, blue skies. Literally it was the trifecta perfecta. So we go over there. So then now you go up higher. So base camp, they say, is like a moving glacier. So you cannot land your helicopter exactly on base camp. So what we did is we kind of landed a little bit lower than base camp. And then two of us jumped out. And then the helicopter, this is where your weight issue comes in. And now what he did is he took two up at one time and left the other two at the bottom. So my mom and I, we went up first. And then what you do is you actually go up higher than base camp again, because base camp is a moving glacier. And there's this landing area that you get to go up to. And when I tell you, you are just in the middle of all things nature and beauty, y'all. It was incredible. In fact, you see this little thing that's behind me? That's how it kind of looked up there. Imagine if this was all snow-capped mountains. That's kind of what it looked like up there. So you get up to the proper base camp, and you're only allowed 5 to 7 minutes because of the altitude sickness. I didn't feel anything. My mom didn't feel anything, but we definitely got out. We definitely, wiggled around in all of that old antiquity and all of that space and absorb all that good energy. And then once our 5-7 minutes were done, we switched. So the helicopter took us back down. We got out. My uncles went back in. They went up. And it's weird because the 5 to 7 minutes that you're actually landed on the top is quite short, but the ride from that base point to where you can see it, it's actually kind of a long time. So my mom and I were on the base for a while waiting for them to come back. So I had to naturally go and touch all the river and the waters because I can't be around water and not touch it. And it was freezing. Duh, one should know that, right? Is a hot oven, is a hot stove hot? Right. Anyways, it was hot. It was freezing, but it was so exciting. And then I took a handful of rocks from while I was up there, and I stuffed them inside of me. And again, being mindful of the weight issue because, I'm not trying to plummet out of nobody's sky because I got a couple of rocks in my pocket. You understand what I'm saying? But the reason why I took the rocks was because when we were in Ecuador, one of our guys in Ecuador, he was also an archaeologist, aside from being a tour guide and teaching people stuff. And he used to say in their part of the world, in their culture, in their old religion before Christianity, people used to keep old pieces in the house in order to help to absorb bad energy that comes into your house, right? So for instance, he would say anywhere that you always have a lot of people coming and going, you want to put old things in the corners so that they can suck up any of the bad energy that other people might be bringing into your house and then disrupting your peace. So ever since then, I've always done that. Even in here, I got old rocks all over this house. I've got old stuff all over this house. So in my mind, why would you not add some Himalayan rocks, right? So anyways, we added some Himalayan rocks. We came back down, and then right when we landed at that the base camp airport, the weather changed drastically. All of the clouds filled up. You couldn't even see across the valley. You couldn't even see the helicopter next to you, and we were grounded for about an hour and a half, 2 hours at the airport, just waiting because there's literally nothing you can do. And that I thought was kind of cool because, again, for those who have never been in natural disasters where the environment is going to dictate what you will and will not do, and there is nothing you as a person or man-made anything can do, it is a very humbling experience. I've been through Hurricane Andrew. For those who know, you know. So when it comes down, you just go sit back, drink you some tea, read you your little book, maybe walk around the little village, and then you're just gonna wait. Anyways, so we waited for about 2 hours, and then when we went to go for a walk, you know, the captain was like pissed. He was like, you better come back fast. Don't go around here for too long. At the time, I was like, why are you so ornery? Just relax. In hindsight, I get it. It's because of the changing of this weather. And that man was like, don't go too far, because if this thing changes, we getting on this helicopter, we're getting out of here. And literally that's what happened. So we took a little walk. I came back down, and he looked at us. He was like, let's go. And all the other people who were there, it's like, did you guys even get to go up? It's like, yeah, we went up. And they were like, man, it's like, you guys didn't go up. It's like, you're the only helicopter that went up. None of the other helicopters got to go up. Sucker. Anyways, you snooze, you lose. Too bad. So anyways, we jumped onto the helicopter, and then we went back, and then again, it was just trippy because like all of a sudden you're all up in these icy cold, you know, peaks. And then as you get lower, the valley opens up bigger, and then like it's just huge. It's magnificent. You got to see it. I'm going to try to add some videos onto here, but I messed up on the orientation with how you're supposed to do it for YouTube videos and Instagram videos. So y'all are just going to have to bear with me, and y'all are just going to be able to enjoy it and let this be a taste, a small taste for you guys, that maybe it might excite you guys to go and check out different parts of the world that most people don't ever really go, and really go see some stuff, right? Like really go see some stuff that's just not what your normal everyday thing was. So anyways, I'm excited to say, y'all, that on March 21st, 2023, Rita hit a bucket list, and she went up to Mount Everest, went and saw it, did, you know, walked around, absorbed it, took back her rocks, brought them back down with her, and I'm excited because it was one of my goals for myself. So anyways, like, subscribe. I'm going to give you another video about more of the other stuff that we did. Okay. Bye, y'all.